Chapter 32, Soul Rest. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. Isaiah chapter 26 verse 3. The great prophet Isaiah discloses the fact in this verse that, if we are kept in perfect peace, it is because we trust in God. It is the trusting that brings the peace. Faith in God anchors our mind to Him. Faith is to salvation what the mainspring is to a watch. Here is a beautiful watch with 17 jewels made by a master smith, but it would be worthless without the mainspring, for, mark you, the mainspring is the life, the dynamo, the power that throws the hands around the dial plate, and points out the correct time of day. If the mainspring were to snap, the watch would stop suddenly. The case has nothing to do with the mechanism or the running of this timekeeper. You may place the works of the watch in a wooden case, or a sawdust case, or a tin case, and it will tick the correct time of day. The case is only the house in which the watch lives. We said faith is to salvation what the mainspring is to the watch. Faith is that power, that factor in one's life, that moves him out for God. It matters not what kind of a house he is clothed with or lives in. We mean by this, the woman or man with strong faith in God may have a delicate, diseased body, but still be a power. We knew a woman who had great faith in God. Through her prayers revivals were started in the community, and the fire prayed out of heaven, yet the doctors told us that she had a tumor in her stomach that weighed 20 to 30 pounds, and she was one of the incurables. But her face was always shining and she was always rejoicing. We saw a little woman who was wheeled in under the shed at Bonnie Campground, and if we were rightly informed, she only weighed about 80 pounds. She had no lower limbs, and no use of one of her hands. Yet this little woman was praising God all the time. Her face fairly shone. We saw her in her wheelchair at the altar instructing the penitents. She was instrumental in one service in pointing 7 strong men to the cross. She had 4 or 5 missionaries in the foreign field. We said to her, "How do you keep your men in the mission fields?" She said, "By faith in God." She was one of the worst deformed people we have ever seen, yet she had faith that was strong, and laughed impossibilities in the face, and did mighty things for God. Faith is to salvation what steam is to the engine. We have often walked around the old jumbo engine, handled the cow catcher, when there was no water, no fire, and no steam, but be it understood, when the boiler is full of water, and the steam chest is pulsating with steam, and the pop valve is blowing off, and that old train is racing down the track 90 miles per hour, crying out, "Clear the road, I'm coming," we always clear the road, for it has run over many a fellow because he did not get out of the way. As we were leaving a city in Texas one morning, we heard the screaming of the engine. We raised our window just in time to see an old Jenny and her colt going through the air, and the train trotting on down the track 30 or 40 miles per hour, as if it had only struck an ad. A man or woman full of the Holy Ghost and faith can chase the devil and make him clear the track, for one such can put 1,000 to flight, and 2 can chase 10,000. Samson, with strong faith, and the jawbone of an ass, slew his thousands. David, with a Gibraltar faith in God, a sling and 5 pebbles, brought the great Goliath to the ground. Gideon, whose faith did not stagger, with 300 brave warriors put to flight the fields full of enemies. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who had living faith in God, never doubted once but what God would take care of them in the fiery furnace, and bring them out more than conquerors. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, and evidence of things not seen. Faith is that power in man that reaches a way out into the unseen and pulls things up and looks at them. Faith is that power in man that goes a way out into the unfelt regions and brings the things up and handles them. Faith makes stairways up every mountain, bridges every chasm, spikes hell's artillery, and brings things to pass for God. We must step out upon God's promises, for he that believeth on the Son of God hath the witness in himself. We do not pray clear through by feeling, but by faith. We do not live by sight, but by faith, and God will be careful to see to it that those who step out upon His promises and trust Him will never sink beneath the mad waves. Faith illuminates the long dark tunnels. Faith lightens the burden, brightens hope, and draws heaven close. Faith in God, not in environments, not in the arm of flesh, but a living faith, a faith that brings results, a faith that has fruits. Why should we doubt just because we cannot see or feel? Why should we doubt when things do not go just as we planned? Why not stand still and see the salvation of God? When He commands, we should obey whether or not we see or feel. The greatest blessing comes to those who trust Him, who step out upon His promises in spite of environments, who, in spite of feelings, look up into His face and say, I can, I will, I do believe. Keep repeating it, I do believe, I will believe. Keep saying it, I am determined to trust. I will not doubt. Doubts damn, doubts destroy, doubts blind, doubts brings gloom and defeat. We will believe. We must believe. We do believe. Count on His word. We trust Thee now. How sweet it will be when the desired haven is reached, when we can look up into His dear face and say, Lord, Thou dost know that we trusted Thee every step of the way. We should not want the Lord to give us candies or wrap a little sugar up in a rag, but we, as His children, should take Him at His word. His word is enough. Then, why not look up and say today, my faith looks up to Thee, Thou dear Lamb of Calvary. A child that a parent has to hire, it is not an obedient child, that is, the child has not the proper regard, the proper love for the parent. If you should say, Mary, please bring me a drink of water, and she should say, I will, Papa, for 10 cents, it would grieve your heart, and pain your soul. So when you see an open door, or feel let out, or want some blessing, and you cry to God to first give you the feelings or the witness, it grieves God, it injures your own experience. The Lord save us from wanting the assurance, the candies, the nuts. Let us walk in the light, obey the injunctions, and God will see to it that we will get the blessings needed. It means much to simply take Him at His word, simply leave all in His hands, and step out on the promise and reckon it is done, get up and go on and act like it is really done, without the assurance. If you have done your part, walked in all the light God has given, you can step out on His promise and He will never fail you. The things you really need will be yours to enjoy. Sometimes when you really believe, the thing looks darker and gets much darker, but that should never shake your faith, that should never cause you to tremble once. Just stand still and Red Seas will open up, the Jordan will give you a dry road, the walls of Jericho will fall, the fiery furnaces will be quenched, and lions' mouths will be locked, for God honors faith, and we are saved by faith, through grace, and that not of ourselves, it is the gift of God. It pleases God for us to trust Him without pleading for assurances, without pleading for the witness, trust Him where we cannot see, trust Him when there are not any feelings. You trust your friends. You believe their word. You do not ask them for a witness. You trust your child to the doctor, to the nurse, and oftentimes they are not worthy of trust, so can you not trust your soul to God, the great God who gave His Son to die on the rugged tree for you, and who wants to flood your soul with joy and peace? But this only comes through faith. You cannot get any blessing without faith, for faith brings the blessing. It is impossible to please God without faith. Have faith in God. It is not works, but faith. When you have faith, then you will be a good worker. We must believe if we expect to receive, for it is first believe, then receive. You cannot get the witness to a thing before the thing is accomplished. The witness always comes after the transaction. When you receive the witness that you are saved, you were saved before the Holy Ghost said you were. When you receive the witness that you are sanctified, you were sanctified before the Spirit said so. When you receive the blessed witness that you are healed, you were healed before the witness. Why? You are saved, sanctified, and healed by faith, and after you have believed, then the Spirit comes and witnesses to the glorious fact. They that wait upon God renew their strength, they mount up on wings as eagles, they run and are not weary, they walk and do not faint. He that believeth on the Son hath the witness in himself, he that believeth not God have made him a liar, because he believeth not the record that God gave of his Son. Now, if you doubt, you make God a liar, but if you believe on the Son, you have a witness in your own heart. Do not look for signs and wonders, but simply have faith in God. Peter went down because of his doubts. Peter denied and cursed God because of his fear. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were delivered from the fiery furnace because of their faith in God. John was taken care of on the Isle of Patmos because of an unflinching faith. Elijah was fed out on Juniper Circuit because he was trusting God. God will take care of those who trust Him. It is impossible to pray through unless you have a faith that laughs impossibilities in the face, that stands flat-footed upon God's immutable word without a flinch. It is impossible to get the ear of God in earnest prayer unless you have a faith that will not be deterred, a live faith, a wide-awake faith. The greatest hindrance to praying clear through is a failure to simply look up into the face of Jesus Christ, and say, I do trust you. It is not, I will, but I do, now and here. It is the present faith that counts. It is the present faith that brings victory.